It's time for another Indiegogo fundraiser video. Happy June 1st. Today is like a very sunny day in Los Angeles, and I went out dancing so that I could have a little energetic break from my crazy schedule of planning for this show 24/7. I'm going to read you the story that started 100 Nights of the Urban Geisha. It is a story that took place, and it's based on real events that actually happened in my life not too very long ago, where I was chasing a drug addict down the street with a stun gun. And I said to myself after this was over that I better start writing a book about my life, otherwise I'm wasting all this good material. And so I wrote this story, and I actually submitted it to Red Umbrella Organization's Prose and Lore Issue 3, which you can buy from the website redumbrellaproject.org, and support another great sex and love worker organization that helps upcoming and emerging sex workers often get their first taste of being published. And Audacia Ray has done a lot for the community to ensure that our voices get heard, both in issues of prose and lore and in the media, where she speaks on behalf of sex worker rights very well. So this is from that, and it will also be in my memoir, which is going to be exactly 2 weeks from now. June 14th is the first date at the Complex Theater at 9 p.m., and also again at the Complex Theater on the 28th. So this is an excerpt from 100 Nights of the Urban Geisha. My day started off positive. I had a great singing lesson in Beverly Hills, and then was headed off to the Hustler store in Hollywood to celebrate a book that commemorated all the 70s porn stars. My horror mother mentor, Annie Sprinkle, was in town for this event, and I was supposed to meet a woman that I met on an internet dating site at the bookstore where it would be held for our first date. It turns out she was really actually an older 80s porn performer and knew most of the other performers and fans there. I didn't know that she worked in the industry before inviting her. We were hanging out at the Rainbow Room on Sunset Boulevard across the street after the book signing. At 1 a.m., I decide my social time is up and it was now time for me to start my usual graveyard escorting shift. Leaving the Rainbow Room, I received a work call and pulled over to the side of the road to talk to the potential client. I don't think anything of a call to come to see a client in Van Nuys, which is to take place in his office after hours. I've done this type of call many times. It was definitely not my preferred work environment, but I'd take the money for it if the office had a couch, a bathroom to wash up in, and I was going to get my usual rate. "Do you party?" he said while I was doing my usual answer the phone and get the address routine on the side of the road. "I can't talk about that on the phone," I said, "but yes." The Adderall took the phone from my hand and said that to that guy. I swear, I know in my sober state that it is not wise to answer yes to that question. I am always the more sober one with the drug addicts. Part of my usual screening was automatic disqualification for anyone who asked that question outright. Because I was already under the influence, I answered yes. I was already unaware of my lack of judgment, and this was precisely why I usually committed to being more sober than the other guy in the room. It's drizzling out, incredibly cold, but I was bundled in my fur coat. The guy meets me in front of an office address, gets in my car, and tells me we'd find parking in a lot across the street. He then asks me if he can do bumps in my car because he has some reservations about doing drugs in his office. This should have been suspect, but my normal set of defenses were not up as they should have been. I think back to why I wasn't on game exactly, and it was because I had started taking Adderall when I was at the Rainbow Room. I got it from the needle-using speed-shooting client with the gorgeous abdomen that I was with the other morning. I had always been curious to try the pill form of speed that many a former grad student raved about. I wasn't into needles at all and no longer curious about the effects of smoking or snorting. I had a half a pill inside of me already. Mostly what I felt was subtle, tingly sensation through my whole body. It was a nice buzz. Mixing with the alcohol I drank, I remember reflecting to myself that it was a very mild high, but looking back on it, I realized it was actually a very strong high that camouflaged itself very well, like a wolf in sheep's clothing. "I have a thing about doing drugs in my office," the guy says. "Can we do this in your car?" The Adderall opens the passenger door and lets this guy in my car. "You want some coke?" he says to me at this point. I never turn down cocaine offered from clients, I knew this to be a bad habit, but I figured since I was not a drug addict, it was always okay for me to do a line or two. For me, doing a line of coke was the equivalent to a guy offering to buy me a drink at a bar or a cup of coffee for the night shift. I start chopping up the drug on a surface, and I realize as I am chopping it that it breaks apart like pieces of glass and crystals, the way meth crystals did, all the particles flaking off the surface with crunchy sound effects. Even as I realize that this is peculiar, I do a small line anyway and feel it burn. This is not cocaine, I say. I give him the rest and watch him stare in my eyes while he licks it up. He is clearly tweaked off his rocker. I haven't snorted crystal meth in over a year because I had seriously had a bad time last time and swore myself I would never ingest the substance again after the last time. I just realized that I have unintentionally done a bump of crystal meth up my nose, not cocaine. I am calm. Speed often has a calming effect on people, contrary to the name. I felt a piercing clarity and calm. Let's go to your office, I say. I'm married to this Japanese woman, and me and her stepdaughter, who is over 18, all sleep in the same bed and have sex, he starts telling me. Does that bother you? That's gross, I say. Yes. While we are walking towards his office building, he pushes me up against a wall and starts unzipping his pants. His limp dick is exposed, and he is trying to jack it off against me. His pathetic rubber band penis is flopping in his hand. He pushes his hand inside my fur coat and starts fondling my breasts. I inhale extremely slowly and count to 10. I am extremely calm and clear. My heart isn't beating fast, and my adrenaline isn't pumping. Come on, resist me, he says. No, get off me, I say calmly. I'm going now. Get off me. This is not consensual. I feel threatened by you. Get off me, I say without fighting and without fear. He steps away from me. I paid you to come out here, he says. You haven't given me shit yet, so you don't have permission to touch me, I say. I look in his left side pocket and see the handle of a knife. Oh, great, I say. You have a knife with you, too? This old thing? This isn't a knife. I'll throw this out on the street. I unarm my car from my keychain trigger. He doesn't try to follow me into my car or threaten me further. While I sit, locked in my car, I look in my bag and realize that my lube is missing. After he had done his drugs, he asked me to borrow some lube so he could see if he was allergic to it or not. I was trying to be nice and accommodating, so I gave it to him. Crystal and Adderall have found each other at the unexpected party in my brain and have now started to make out. I roll down my window and ask for it back. He opens the lid of the lube, gets some out so he can continue to masturbate while he is standing in the middle of a parking lot with his pants undone. He throws the bottle of lube at me through my roll-down window. I drive away and head to a nearby gas station. I have zero anxiety from what just happened. I am very near one of my old regulars, an old-timer actor from Texas. I call to see if he is home. He doesn't pick up. I hated having sex with him, but at least he was safe money when he gave it to me, and he lived right around the corner from where I currently was. One thing about meth using, I imagine hearing Bob Marley sing in my head. When it hits, you feel no pain. I believe meth specifically has the power to cause some men to be so insatiably horny that they can turn into potentially frothing at the mouth child molesters and rapists if they have no boundaries while sober. So it is one of the more dangerous drugs to be around as a sex worker. I even believe it increases a sex worker's risk more than other street drugs. I could be in the back seat of a car doing a drive-by shooting and not get traumatized if I were tweaked on a small amount of crystal meth. I could nonchalantly walk into a 7-Eleven and buy a newspaper after a drive-by on my own family if I was high enough. Crystal meth effectively numbs out your common sense and your empathy. I could see why it could be a useful drug for soldiers in military battles and the choices of many foot soldiers and gangs assigned to duties of heartless acts of retribution. As a self-identified whore revolutionary, I often feel like a soldier in a war, especially on nights like this. I start meditative breathing pattern during my drive back home. I am taking 10 seconds to inhale, holding it, taking 10 seconds to exhale. I calmly got gas at the station and started to head home in full realization that I may have been nearly physically or sexually assaulted. I had for sure adequately fulfilled my role as an easy victim, molested against my will and taken advantage of. I couldn't wait to get home to meditate myself into a more comfortable headspace. I didn't even have any anxiety or post-traumatic stress like I usually do when I endure this kind of violence. I guess I never felt that my life was threatened, even if he had a knife. As soon as I get home, I jump into my pajama pants, light some incense, and begin meditating on mantras I create to soothe my post-traumatic stress disorder. Repeat a phrase like the above to yourself while you are meditating on your third eye chakra. The third eye chakra is in charge of intuition and connection to the universe. I am a warrior. I am strong beyond measure. I am a survivor. I fight even when I do not fight. I am a warrior. I am strong beyond measure. I am a survivor. I fight even when I do not fight. I am a warrior. I am strong beyond measure. I am a survivor. I fight even when I do not fight. I am my best hotline counselor. I know exactly the kind of support I need right now, and I want and need to feel better. I meditate on repetitive mantras like this until I get to a state of blissful release. I was feeling the high of the meth, so meditating took on a more elated path than usual. I didn't want to be a victim in any way to this pervert or his drugs. I wanted to continue to work. I was determined to have something salvageable from this night. I went to another call in an apartment complex and met a black guy who said he was in the military. He was also on drugs or mentally ill, but he didn't touch me in any way. I was lucky, I guess. Let's go to your apartment, I said as we stood in the drizzle falling from the cold sky. I was in robot mode, still high from the drug. Methamphetamine makes you into a cold, calculated, going-through-the-motions figure without a care about consequences, often driven by some illogical directive, like, I have to work tonight. I don't have an apartment here, he said. My eyes widened, and I turned around and headed back to my car. I couldn't actually believe that I fell for the same trick in one night. The way that my work is now is virtually drug and violence free, and I am very grateful for this. And last night I did some good old-fashioned sex work, and I was able to make $450 in 45 minutes. And the thing about that is I felt really proud that I'm able to really do that hustle without feeling degraded or dehumanized. It certainly wasn't tantra. It wasn't sacred, but it wasn't profane either. And that in itself was sacred, that I was able to tithe the church and temple of me. I had a person break into my car and steal my iPod, so he broke my window, and I was without green energy for quite a while, so I had to kind of figure out what I wanted to do, and I've been kind of gravitating towards being a love worker instead of a sex worker, and that is my specialty, to give my open heart and to be a love worker. But sometimes we have to do sex work, and I actually don't have a problem with doing the sex work. It was that I was dealing with a lot of negative people and circumstances that was making it dangerous and difficult, and ultimately causing my demise. And there was a level of disconnect, and there was a level of minimization going on for me so that I could continue to do the work the way that I wanted to do it. And I just wasn't thinking that there was a choice. I didn't think that there was anything that I could do to change the situation, because people like this man who molested me and gave me meth are still out there. He's still probably calling random sex workers to do this. In fact, he stalked me for a little bit, and he would call me. This is not the first incident. I actually dealt with him in 2 separate incidents, and one after that, which I also wrote about in 100 Nights of the Urban Geisha. So that kind of gives you a background to how I started, where I am now, and where I'm going, I don't know. But this next poem is from December 3rd, 2012, which is 2 years ago. And you'll hear a lot of the voice of not feeling that I had any choices. And while I felt that I didn't have any choices, I was never feeling like I was powerless. I felt really in what I defined as power then, which was to be a fighter, to be a warrior, to know martial arts, and to be able to do whatever I needed to do to survive. And I loved that. I loved being that fierce. And I think that that is still in me, and so I just honor all those parts, the goddess and the whore. That's always in me. The I fight even when I don't fight line is based on creating a mantra to, it's based upon creating a mantra which would defend against any negative ego thoughts which would blame me for not fighting back. Because as I've told you, I have been training in martial arts for about 4 years now, and when someone touches your breast, against your consent and fondles their penis in front of you, you're supposed to kick their ass. And I didn't react the way that I wanted to react, and I had to do a lot of spiritual work to really know that I was fighting even though I wasn't fighting. Note to self, I am a warrior. I am a fighter even when I don't fight. I am strong. I will survive. I am a warrior. I am a fighter. I even fight when I don't fight. I am strong. I will survive. Catch and release was my philosophy last week. I had just made the resolution to no longer do drugs with clients. I'm done with it, indefinitely. But it isn't the drugs that are the problem. It is the territory and the clientele. I'm starting to believe what cops say to me. Comes with the work that you do. I guarantee if I got hit by a car on my bicycle, they would not say, well, you shouldn't have been riding your bike. I shared my trauma with Facebook as usual. Need to vent. I'm at Olympic Day Spa Healing. Holding regret and anger this time. I got 3 cavities filled today. $400. Confused by the universal violence, sharing my trauma because I can never no longer stay silent. Should have kicked your ass, ripped your face, and pounced and fought, but I did not. Chased you away because I was not going to twice get got. I try to light an incense, meditate on love, and draw upon my inner peace, but it's taken more work this time to find a release. But I'm having trouble shooing black birds of regret and rage, feeling like Eileen Wuornos or Marsha Powell, dying or having to be killed out her cage. The crazy prostitute beats and kills a man on Victory Boulevard front page. And I'm back to probation and hustling for peanuts and minimum wage. It goes with the territory, the cops will always say. I start to believe. Feels like the 80s mentality when they blame a beat-down wife. Ma'am, why didn't you just leave? We have to be whore soldiers and revolutionaries because we don't have a choice. Fight for ourselves, repping those without a voice. Yet you who haven't even ever done this work swear that we do. I dare you to make the best out of seeing what I see and doing what I do. You might medicate every day and have challenging relationships too. I just came from a class and I was feeling great, normal again. Feeling fully recovered from my post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. CrossFit and some useless ground fighting. I can move towards a higher place. Help me to radiate to my desired calling in life. I can move towards a higher place. Help me to just move to my desired calling in life. I can move towards a higher place. Help me to radiate to my desired calling in life. I can move to a higher place. Help me to radiate to my desired calling in life. Interested in seeing this live? Interested in donating to the future of these words being published in written form? Then please click on the link and donate right now. There's only 9 or 10 days left in this campaign, and I'm trying to have complete faith in you that you will donate to this campaign and support my art, and support my writing, and support the knowledge and love sharing of activists like myself and other writers in books like Prose and Lore who speak tirelessly for sex and love workers' rights. Namaste.